This next session is going to be excellent. If you need to know and want to know more about blockchain, you are in the right session, which is very exciting. And our final speaker has flown all the way over from the USA. We got to know each other on a phone call about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago in fact, was from a recommendation, and we hit it off on the phone, and I was very impressed, and she is a remarkable woman. So please welcome to the stage Lana Gombert, who is the Chief Revenue Global Officer for MetaX.
So how tired are you? How hungover are you? You guys, okay. I'm so happy to be here. Blockchain has been kind of the new shiny in the advertising world this year. It was data for the past 5 years, and it was mobile for a little bit. And now we have a new buzzword, so we're very excited, I imagine. I'm at MetaX. MetaX is a blockchain for advertising company. And we are on the Ethereum mainnet. And we'll go into what that looks like, what that means. Who here buys cryptocurrency? I saw a nod from you, so you're a ringer. Okay, so we'll talk about cryptocurrency. We'll talk about what it looks like. That's me. That's MetaX. So we can whoop. What is blockchain? Blockchain is a database. Okay, that's it. It's not Bitcoin. It is not Ethereum, Ether. It is not a token. It is not crypto. It is a distributed, decentralized database that is hosted by people. Have you heard of miners? Yes, no. Miners are the people who create tokens. On a public blockchain, Ethereum is one of them, Bitcoin. You've all heard of Bitcoin, correct? Hopefully, yes. Miners solve computational problems to create a coin. So if you're investing in Bitcoin, originally, I couldn't mine Bitcoin in my house, which I did. Then the problem with Bitcoin's algorithm, or the beauty of it, is that when you mine a coin, the algo gets harder. And it keeps getting harder and harder and harder and harder until it hits a cap. And the reason for that is it makes it more valuable, right? So the backing of the currency in Bitcoin's case, and also in Ether's case, is energy, right? Energy to solve computational problems, and energy to actually mine. Because the solving is one piece, but you actually have to mine it and hit the network in a certain way. Does that make sense so far? Yes? Okay. So when you hear about miners, when you hear about nodes, it could be someone in their basement. It could be a corporation. It could be miles and miles and miles of servers in China, which I've seen. It's a real thing. And they're all doing the same thing. They're all trying to solve a computational problem to create tokens, to create coins. Okay, so Bitcoin and Ether are examples of those coins. Blockchain is the ledger system that empowers all of that. Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008, during the housing crisis in the US, released a paper, the Bitcoin paper. And as part of it, he talked about, or she, or they, because mysterious Satoshi, no one really knows who that entity is, talked about how cryptocurrency, which is not a new concept, by the way, Bitcoin is not the first cryptocurrency, it has become the most popular, can live on a distributed ledger system that is encrypted and immutable, and can be decentralized, so it's very hard to hack. It's very hard to access, okay? In advertising, it can be a single source of truth for impression counting, for creative asset tracking, for talent tracking, for GDPR. We're currently working with Brussels on something I'll talk about in a little bit, which is called a token curated registry. You can actually use tokens to do something, to create an action. We'll go through that. TCRs, token curated registry. AdChain is at MetaX, is product, and AdToken is our token. The registry that we've created, and we'll go through, I'll show it to you at the end of this. It's a list of publishers, and the publishers are voted into the registry by the token holders themselves. So the AdToken is a voting token, and the quality definition is defined by the token holders. And so what the goal was is to create a global whitelist for advertising for a list of publishers, and then also a list of advertisers. Publishers are live right now, and it's fascinating to me, the community that's sparked up around the publisher voting process. There's a whole Reddit thread dedicated to AdChain now, talking about publishers and why they should or should not be in the registry. And I'm happy to send the link to the Reddit forum to anybody who wants to look at it. Just look at AdChain on Reddit. In the AdOps community, you'll see it. So these tokens now are being used to interact with anyone who wants to buy them. There are 6 US cents on the exchanges right now. So ad tokens widely available on crypto exchanges. And it's a utility token. And this is part, I was in New York last week, and there's a conference called Ethereal. Ethereal is Ethereum's big shindig, big brouhaha every year, where we talk about the dApps, decentralized applications that are built on Ethereum. And we are one of them. And we launched officially, I'll throw out terms and we'll define them. Mainnet. Mainnet means you deploy into production on a blockchain, on Ethereum in this case. And there are different flavors of blockchain. And who knows, so who has heard of Ethereum? You have. Okay. The difference between the Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum, this is sort of not true anymore, but the big difference was Ethereum had a notion of smart contracts. And smart contracts think of them as scripts. You can build applications on top of Ethereum, as well as the tokens themselves, right? So we have called an altcoin. It's backed by Ether, which is their coin that they created versus Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. And the smart contracts execute our registry, okay? So then there's 3 types of users in the registry. There's an incentive program. This is really, really important. Crypto people love bounty programs. I run 2 companies right now. So I'm CRO of MetaX, and I'm also CEO of a trade association that's brand new called Digital Asset Trade Association. And we are a global trade that lobbies for crypto and blockchain. So I'll be in Brussels a lot in June, and also next week for GDPR Day. But I will say that incentives make blockchain go. Blockchain by itself is just a database, right? So what the beauty of tokens in a tokenized economy is you can start rewarding each other, individuals, for actions. Okay, and we'll go through the UI at the end of this. I'm looking for a countdown clock. I want to make sure I don't overshoot time, but it's all right. I'll talk faster. So there are 3 types of users in the AdChain registry. This is where they all are token holders, ADT holders. That can be anybody. That can be my grandma, because she actually did buy ad token when I joined the company because she was being supportive. It could be any corporation. It could be anyone in between, right? The beauty of using blockchain and using tokens is you can bring any voice, anyone, into a conversation, into a vote, in an equal fashion. So you can vote against Google, you can vote against Facebook, you can vote against my grandma, equally. Everyone has an equal voice. The advertisers, because there's a list of advertisers, they are a principal in the registry. Same for the publishers, right? Because they're the ones being voted in or out. They're the ones who the actions are performed upon. So we kind of break those out as different entities, okay? So, the incentive model. The ADT holders go back and forth, and they vote folks, advertisers and publishers, in or out of the registry. Now, there's a staking model, which is not, there we go. I'm just gonna let this go. There's the list, going back. There's a staking model, that's slides missing. Basically, if you stake token in the registry, you can propose to make a change. Changing governance parameters, so changing how long it would take to actually make a change. The entire registry is open for token holders to change. And all it takes is consensus, majority, to make those changes. The tokens are used to effect change. And so if you stake, let's say you don't want publisher A in the registry, and you stake 100 token against that. If the community votes against you, you lose that 100 token. So there's an incentive model where if you are wrong, quote unquote wrong, as per the community, they will not accept your offer or your proposal, and you will lose your token. So that prevents against gaming, prevents against someone trying to front run the market. People love to do that. We used to work at Right Media and the Ad Exchange, and I will tell you, human behavior is quite interesting. The same thing for winning. So if you win and your proposal is accepted, you get ad token. So there's a give and take of the actual token in the registry, as well as the outcome of publishers or advertisers in or out. And the conversations around this, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, there was a big thread about, I won't name the publisher, you can go look and read it. I want to talk about publicly which publisher is being discussed how, but someone didn't have an SSL cert on their site. And there was a big discussion, is that quality or not? Because it was alerting, it was erroring. Right? So that all these things are coming up now in the construct of the ad chain registry, and users, we don't know who those users are half the time because they have different usernames that are just opaque, are discussing very intelligently the whys and wherefores of quality. Okay. Now I'll show you the registry really quickly. Can you click on it for me? Thank you. Just to get a taste for what it looks like. There it is. There was a big debacle because Facebook got voted out of the registry. And there was valid reasons, according to the community, why. And we noticed that there were massive challenges coming back with ad token staking very quickly soon after. So this is the registry, the publisher registry. You can see publishers that are there. You can see how you can either vote or challenge. So there are proposals in right now for Vogue.com, Wired, and the community is actively voting. We have 100, this launched 2 weeks ago, and there's been a long cycle of commit and reveal. Commit means, did it actually go through? Was there enough votes? Because there needs to be a majority, otherwise it's not mathematically correct. We have 1,000 wallets participating right now. So wallets are what holds your crypto, what holds your token. For the past 2 weeks, we started off at 100, and now we have 1,000. And I'm sure it'll go up. And they're all voting. They're all talking and communicating. Okay? So this is an example of what you can use blockchain for in the advertising industry. And I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to chat and discuss more of the economics around this. But
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you want to? What is the community which is behind your network?
Yeah.
All the people who are actually voting for publishers and so on.
Sure.
Did you already profile your audience?
We did not profile on purpose because we want it to be a free economy. Mm-hmm. So they all have usernames. They all have inputted basic information. Mm-hmm. Most tellingly address, right? Because there needs to be some sort of registration when you sell a token. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we don't know who they are, okay. Right? We don't know if they're AdOps folks or if they're, my grandma and hanging out on her computer.
Okay. So you need a crypto wallet to be part of
You do. You need MetaMask, which is not installed on here, but MetaMask is the interface with it. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? No? It all makes sense? Is it all BS? Do you think this is useful? You can say no.
To be honest, I don't understand what this is.
That's fine. That's good. That's totally fine.
Can you tell us who are these token holders and what do they do if they vote? What happens?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the purpose of this whole thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will start from the decentralized philosophy. Okay, I think that would be helpful. So in the crypto community, the notion of decentralization is paramount. And the notion of making decisions together and driving consensus is paramount. One of the biggest issues in advertising, and I used to run ad standards at the IB Tech Lab, one of the biggest issues I had running that organization was finding bad actors and having a real conversation, because there were incentives that prevented me from acting on certain bad actors. This is fully,
Blacklisting site.
it's not a blacklisting site. It is a whitelisting site. It is what is available, what is quality, and the definition of quality is defined by the community. Right? And there's incentives there that are varied. So it's not just one group voting. And there's a whole economic theory around if you have disparate voices coming in, you can create a valid community and a valid thought process and choice. This is also a social experiment, right? This is a brand new thing. So I'm not saying this is perfect. This is the first TCR ever created on Ethereum, and Ethereum is brand new, right? So this is new.
And the domains which are in the list, so
Yeah.
they did not apply, right? You put them in.
Some did, some didn't.
Okay.
We did not do anything. So the domains were either token holders applying them,
Okay.
so they like them, or it's the publishers themselves, or, that's it.
How can we make sure that the voters actually know what they're voting for, or at least understand it? Because if we all have 5,000 of their grandmothers voting for something she has no clue about, how can we make sure that this vote is actually actionable?
Yep. So the plan for all of this was to be staged. The first couple of weeks, we launched with guidance that was, should this publisher accept advertising or not? That's it. We're adding more guidance. The community tells us what they want, and there was feedback coming in saying we want more guidance around how we vote, what we look for, which is fine, right? So there's going to be an iterative process where we're going to have a list of standards in a commit group for the registry, where everyone decides on what are the parameters that should go into place for the publishers and advertisers.
What role do you see the agencies in this, major agencies?
Yeah, so the definition of advertiser is very murky. We did that on purpose. I'm already seeing, we have a test advertiser registry that's not live publicly. People are already putting in agencies, right? So they'll be part of the conversation. And also they can vote, and they can use these lists for their clients, and they can interface with the consumers to create a valid list. So the agencies have a big role in this. And they're also going to be in that buyer list, I am sure.
One question.
Yeah, not working.
How do you stop fraud coming into this? Given that the fraud is all over internet for everything that happens, they're always a few steps ahead of everyone else. How do you stop bots voting on this?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, there's the incentive program implemented for a reason. So if someone tries to come in and keep voting out publishers and they're not getting the consensus, they're going to lose lots of token. There's only 1 billion token out there in the wild right now. And there are, we call them whales. There were whales that have bought up a lot of the token already. And in general, those whales are not, they're mostly corporations, right? So the rest of the token that's left over, even if a fraudster buys up a majority of it, if they start voting and they're not being agreed, if it's not being agreed to, they're just going to keep losing token. The incentives are not there for them to actually do anything of value. And if there's a 51% attack, which means if someone buys up all this token and is a majority stakeholder, we can just hard fork the registry away from them and make their token useless. Okay, so there's ways to combat fraudsters in a very real way that we can't really do right now in advertising. We can't really take their money from them publicly in real time and see them and see their wallet addresses and see what they're doing. So that's what we're doing. It'll grow too. Yeah. Any more questions? Is it still really confusing and murky? It is. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It is brand new, right? So I think that there needs to be usage, and we're getting that. So that's step 1. And then feedback, which we're also getting, step 2. And then 3, we iterate, and we make it useful and valuable. The end game is not just registries, right? This is step 1. What's coming is crypto ad servers and bidders. right? So that's really the project that we're working on, but you have to start from a framework. That's our framework. And in Cannes, we'll talk about the ad servers.
Who's your biggest competition right now?
In terms of registries, in the crypto world, nobody. In the advertising world, a lot of partially, not fully, the verification companies, right? Because we're talking about value in a different way. It's not really competition, because it could be an add-on to what they're doing. But if you think about it from a pure economics perspective, that is one sector.
And how do you make money?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the token has value, right? So we hold a lot of token, as is our partner Consensus. We make money off the market. That's one. Two, we make money off of consulting. So I have a consulting practice that we spun up for MetaX that goes and implements TCRs, things like this, for other projects. Token curated registries. So this, using tokens to do something, in this case, vote. We're getting phone calls from hedge funds, from other walks of life, and we're building solutions for our folks like that. That's how you make money. This does not make money. This is a public service. Yeah. Yep.
To attract new users into this, how do you prove to them that it works? At what point can you say, this is the benefit of joining this community, and this is the good it does, this is how it reduces bad actors, and this is why you should join?
Thanks for the question, John. Hi. So in terms of gathering more users and creating efficacy, it's really Reddit is a good example of this, right? And we use Reddit quite a bit to prove out our theses. If you build it, they will come, right? So what is interesting to me is that we built this. We had an ICO in June. Folks bought ad token. That's step one. They believed in the mission. Step two, we launched this in beta. People were using it and testing it. We launched it in production. A community is sparked up on Reddit talking about this and talking about publishers and the requirements that they should have to be in the registry. So it's word of mouth. We're also starting an influencer program just to help create traction. But I will say it's a different way of building a community, because it's not just about selling the revenue value prop or the social value prop. It is a whole different construct of both of those things together. So we'll see. But the community will build itself is really the answer. And it's doing it. There are people popping up that are voting for folks. They're building up, like, creating industries around voting on AdChain for folks if they don't want to vote themselves. So they're creating their own businesses on AdChain, which is interesting. So we shall see. Okay. Oh. Are we good with time? Okay, one more. Yes. Making sure.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask the second question. So I apologize, I arrived a bit late to the presentation.
That's okay.
But you might have already covered this. The tokens, the concept of the token is, I assume it's like a currency, and I assume it's going to be tradable at some point. And I assume that if you hold a lot of it and you gave a lot of it for very little money, so you jointly, along with the token holders, you all become rich. Is that, I apologize for the very directness of it. But
that's fine.
Is that, would that be a fair summary of the, if you like, the commercial side of things?
So I'll talk to you about different types of tokens first, and then I'll talk about the investment strategy. One, there's securities tokens, which follow securities laws and are just like currencies. And then there is a notion of utility tokens, which is what ad token is and other tokens. Wax is another example. What they do is they are a functional token. And I've spent countless hours talking to securities commissioners in the US and also in Brussels talking about the difference between a currency/security and a utility. The utilities have a checklist of steps, and Switzerland does have standards for utility tokens right now. There is a checklist of steps that has to occur for it to be deemed a utility token. Now, we did a public sale in June, so these tokens were sold. We hold token, right? As a company that created it, we do hold token. So there is an incentive. If the usage goes up, the price goes up. But, and this is really important, we never listed the token on an exchange. Our token holders can do that, right? And exchanges can list all by themselves if they want to. We don't pay exchanges, which some folks do. We get emails all the time saying like, please list your token and pay us a seat fee, which is a no-no, you don't do that, it's bad. Because it shows that you're trying to market it as an investment, which means security, which means a whole other host of things. So would we like it to go up to get rich? Sure, right? But there is also a functional notion of, because it's utility, people are using this. So the price will not go up to a point where it'll be exorbitant, ever. Because people are using it, it needs to be affordable. That's my current hypothesis. We'll see what happens, but I don't think it's going to pop up, or in crypto they say when moon. It's not going to moon. It's going to stay at a very low price and to be used as a functional utility. My guess. I'm not an investment advisor. Yes.
Hi. So I guess the reason why you set this up is because there's quite a lot of fraud and within the advertising ecosystem, correct?
Correct.
So, and we're all aware of that, and there's a lot going on to minimize that. And as a brand, if we establish direct relationships with publishers and with the big ecosystem, where we're just dealing direct, why would this be a benefit?
So this helps with direct publishers in that you get feedback from the community on the publisher's behavior.
But if say we're only really interested in literally a handful, and we have direct relationships, why do I need?
Having direct relationships with a publisher and knowing what they're doing on the back end are two different things. Right? I used to work for a very quality publisher running sales, and looking at buying traffic, refresh tags, things that are or have been normal activities as a premium publisher, not a network. That is important to start talking about, and we don't talk about that in our industry. And it also affects direct deals. It's not just programmatic. Right? Everyone talks about programmatic and fraud. Yes, that is a thing, but it's also direct, and we don't talk about that. And everyone assumes premium means there's no fraud in the system. And also people assume direct deals equal no fraud in the system. Totally not true. Okay, that's why. Anybody else? We're good. Yes? Yes, okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you.